Normal summon Zayaman, pay 6 to activate effect. No response? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is your boy P.U.N.K. I'm feeling great, and I'm coming at you at long last with another spicy deck profile. It's a dark landscape in the current Yu-Gi-Oh! Format. The Shizu tournament has been dominating absolutely everything, absolutely everywhere. But that doesn't mean that that's the only playable deck. If you play a deck that can target and try to beat the weak points of the best deck extremely well, you may end up having something that's quite playable when it otherwise may not be. Enter P.U.N.K Virtual World, a deck that is build a board in a format that is not equipped to build a board, and that puts up multiple annoying floodgate-esque effects that really are kind of hard to answer with the best deck unless you see these side cards, and even then you have to find multiple of them. Without further ado, I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's get into the deck because there's a lot to explain here. So, the virtual cards. If you've never read these before, they all have the effect to, if they're in hand, target a virtual card you control to send a virtual card of a different type, monster, spell, or trap from deck to grave, and summon themselves from hand. And then from there, they have a bonus effect. And we'll get to those individual effects when we get to the monsters. So, starting off, we play 3 Lulu and 3 Gigi. These are the two best ones. So, Lulu targets a card, sends a card of a second type from deck to grave, summons itself, and then adds a card of the third type. So, most commonly, Lulu is going to be targeting a monster, sending a spell, and adding a trap. Gigi targets, sends one from deck to grave with a different type, summons itself, and then during the end phase, you can add a virtual monster from graveyard to hand except Gigi. Really good because it gets Lulu back to hand for you to start off again next turn. Just really makes your grind game and recovery much better. Gigi's a great card. And then the less good ones, we're playing 2 copies of Lili, 2 copies of Lao Lao, and 2 copies of Nian Nian. We play 2 of each of these because they're all extremely searchable, basically at every point during your combo. Lili is a pretty solid starter. Targets, sends a different type, summons itself, and then you can send a card of a third type from deck to grave. Very good if you just have Lili plus a monster, because it means you can send a spell and a trap, both of which have graveyard effects. Really solid starter, but I cut down the third one just because we only really need to see one name in this variant. Lao Lao, same thing, target, send, special, and then you can summon a virtual monster from graveyard in defense with a different name than the card it sent to grave, but negates effects, doesn't matter, they usually don't have effects on field. Lao Lao's a great recovery card and also just lets you extend, sometimes represents 3 bodies on board from nothing. And then Nian Nian is kind of the exception to the virtual world rule. So it doesn't have an in-hand effect, but it does if a level 3 monster is no more special summoned to your field while it's in grave, it can summon itself as a tuner, but it's banished when it leaves the field. And also, if this card is banished, you can target one of your other banished cards and shuffle it in the deck. This does not say face up, so if things get banished face down, you can shuffle them back. Really relevant in Kashtira format, which isn't here yet, but that's an important thing to keep in mind. And also, if things get banished like evenly matched, you can put them back. So really, really good recovery tool. And important to note that all of these also have effects that lock you into level/rank 3 or higher monsters for the rest of the turn, special summon wise. Does not matter ever, we just don't play links. It's completely fine. That is it for the virtual world monsters. Because this is not a pure build, we're kind of rolling back the number of monsters a little bit, just because the purpose of the punks is to search virtual world cards and also put up more disruption. So for the punks, we have probably still one of the strongest normal summons in the game, honestly. 3 copies of No Punk Zeamin. So the punks are more recent, so people are probably more aware of them, but I'll still explain them anyway. So all of the P.U.N.K monsters, the level 3s, and the Synchro 8, we'll get to that later, can pay 600 life points to do something. So Zeamin pays 600 to add a P.U.N.K monster from deck to hand, except Zeamin. And that also has a bonus effect. If it's sent to the grave, I can target a P.U.N.K I control and it gains 600 attack. Not usually relevant, but sometimes it is if you just need your guy to get a little bit bigger. I would play 1 copy of Wagon and 1 copy of Shower Kusai. Lag on, pay 6 to add a Punk spell. It's only ever adding the field spell, that's the only good one. And then also, when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a Punk monster that you control, or when your opponent's monster targets one for an attack, you can just draw a card. Not usually relevant, but it's important to remember that this has its effect, because sometimes if your opponent's not reading this and you can just end with this guy on board, you don't usually do it, but sometimes you have like an extra 3. Ending with him is fine, because drawing an extra card for free because your opponent didn't read your cards is always good. And Sharakusai is both an extender, if you will, and also a disruptive piece. So you can pay 600 life to fusion summon a Punk fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from hand or field, and then during your opponent's turn you can pay 600 to immediately after this effect resolves synchro summon a Punk using monsters you control as material. He doesn't say himself included, but usually you're just using himself. But really, really good disruptive piece for a play that we'll get to later. And then for the bigger Punks, we have 1 copy of Deer Note. Don't need to explain how good this card is. So she can reveal 1 other Punk monster in hand to special either the revealed monster or this card, and send the other to grave. And then if she's sent from field to grave, you can target a Punk in grave except a level 5, and special summon it, but I cannot special summon Deer Note for the rest of the turn. Doesn't matter, we're only playing 1, and Deer Note's the only level 5, so it just summons a Punk from grave for free if it's sent from field, which is really nice. Great extender, and it's a key combo piece in the deck. Then we play 2 copies of Ogre Dance and 2 copies of Foxy Tune. So these both have 3 effects. They have a first effect that deals with like gaining life. You're never doing that. Importantly, Ogre Dance can send itself from hand to grave to add a Punk monster from deck to hand except at level 8. It can also send from field, which is occasionally relevant, not usually. Deer Note can send herself from hand or field to grave to send an additional card from hand to grave for effect. And if you do special Punk monster from deck except a level 8, Ogre Dance also adds except a level 8, so usually just these 2 just get to Amin, or if you already have Amin, gets to Sharakusai for the combo. And then both of them also have the effect to where you contribute a Punk monster to special summon this card from hand. This deck is really adept at spitting out level 3 tuners, so if you just have that later on in the grind game, you can like Amin, pay 6, search one of these, tribute the Amin, summon this out, and then 8 plus 3, I mean, gets you to a level 11 synchro, and there are a couple of very, very good ones. That is it for the Punks. We do play a couple other monsters in the deck. Unfortunately, we have the tier tax, as I like to call it, 3 Magnemite and 1 Druid's Worm. I want to be able to play more of these. This is one of the downsides of this deck, is that in the main, there's not a lot of space for tech cards. I'm already at 42 cards, and I can only play 4 of these. It's not the worst, because 80% of the time you're going to be playing against a Shizu tier, and they mill you. And if you hit any of these, Virtual World is really adept at making Constellar Ptolemy if you need to, and you really need to get one of these guys back. Like, if you need to do that, I mean, you can just detach and add one of them back. So getting access to 1 engrave means you have access to 1 basically for the rest of the game, because their odds are going to be milling Magnemite. But you still need to be playing them, because these cards are just so good, puts the pressure on your opponent to either lose the name or have to shuffle it back with one of their shufflers. I don't need to explain these cards, they're just extremely playable right now, and every deck that's not Flunder has to be playing them. And then engine pieces, we're playing 1 Shaddoll Beast and 1 Tearlaman's Hadness. We make Winda, and we protect the hell out of that Winda, and that works. Is it the most fun thing? Yeah, it is. The combo's really cool. But Winda wins when you can protect her well enough, and this deck is very good at doing that. Also really good if you draw either of these, you're going to get to send the beast for effect, draw a card, make the Winda, shuffle the beast back, and then later on your opponent's turn, you're going to send the beast again to draw an additional card. It's actually crazy. This deck can just draw a ton of cards for no reason. But that is it for monsters. Getting into the spells, 3 copies of K.U.N.K, 3 copies of King Long. Don't need to explain this. If I'm going second, and sometimes even going first, I'll side one of each of these out. Just in game 1, you like having access to them, because K.U.N.K is just a super, super high roll card. If you see it with a name, your hand's insane. And King Long just searches and sometimes negates it. They're both playable cards, they can just get a little cloggy. And then we play 2 copies of the Punk field spell, Punk Jam Extreme Session. So, as a soft once per turn, you can banish a Punk card from grave, a special Punk from hand. Really good at just extending. And then if a psychic monster you control paid life to activate its effect, you can draw 1 card. You can use that effect of field spell up to twice per turn. So this is just pot of greed sometimes. Really good at just refueling your hand because Virtual World is very adept, especially post turn 3, at just making a lot of just different forms of removal, just picking apart your opponent's resources and then eventually leaving them with nothing. The deck grinds extremely well, surprisingly so as well. People just kind of forgot about that. And also just drawing more cards means you fix Virtual World's single big issue. It's bricking. That's the notorious reputation that Virtual World had, is that it was a brick fest. And this is the build that kind of aims to resolve that. Speaking of cards that don't brick, 3 copies of E-Telly. I don't know why this is still at 3, but I'm going to play it while it is. It's extremely good. It is full combo on its own. And then the rest of the cards, 2 Chuche and 1 Zhuan Wu. These are standard numbers. Have not changed in the entire time that they've existed. Really, really good. Yeah. That's it for the main deck. Going into the extra. So, we'll start with the fusions. 1 copy of Rising Carp. I cannot say the first word in this thing. I don't know how to pronounce it, but yeah, so funny P.U.N.K Rising Carp. So it takes 2 P.U.N.K monsters, and you contribute this fusion summon card to special summon up to 2 P.U.N.K monsters with different names with each other from your hand and or deck except for level 8 monsters in defense. Really good because you make this with Shower Kusai and you get access to more of your engine. And then if you synchro summon using this card as material, you can target a P.U.N.K you control and it can make a second attack during each battle phase. You're never doing that. This just summons 2 guys with that, or hand. So it means you can't like draw targets and it makes them dead. Really, really good extender in the deck. Just great combo piece. Winda. For the synchros, one of the GOAT. Shen is not as debilitating against tier as I would like it to be, but it is still just, he's just a really annoying guy to get rid of. A really good card, just keeps coming back, and it's just a good card, honestly. It's not incredible, but it does the job good enough, and it's just, recursive boss monsters are always going to be good. Juju doesn't get made very much, but if you need removal, he's good for it. Just good Synchro 6. P.U.N.K Jam Dragon Drive is the enabler for this entire deck. So if it's special summoned by the effect of a P.U.N.K card or synchro summoned, relevant because it can actually summon itself back, you can pay 6 to take a level 3 psychic from deck and either add it to hand or send it to grave. That does not say search or send a P.U.N.K. You can send Yan Yan or search Lulu. It's crazy, and P.U.N.K summon this guy super easily. We make this because Chaos Ruler got banned, so it's just completely free. And then if your opponent activates a card or effect in response to your P.U.N.K card or effect activation while it's engraved, you can just special summon it back. And it combos with itself at that point because it doesn't say you can only use 1 effect per turn. So if you have like Field Spell, Banishing, like this is after your combo, right? Because your combo, you're not getting killed through your combo because it's so extensive. So your opponent like cracks partially on your board, but they can't break like your Field Spell. You're like, oh cool, Field Spell, banish, summon 1 from hand, and then they change something and you're like, cool, chain Dragon Drive and Grave Summon. Dragon Drive comes back, you get to, and then on resolution, you even if they negate your thing, you're like, cool, pay 6, search or send a level 3 psychic, and then Field Spell still up, so you're drawing a card as well. You just resolved engage. Like, it's really, really good. And then the main end board piece for P.U.N.K is the 1 copy of Yu-Gi-Oh! P.U.N.K Amazing Dragon. I can pronounce it, I just had to not even think about it. So, Synchro 11, really, really good card. So if it's Synchro Summoned, you can target cards your opponent controls up to the number of level 3 Psychic monsters with different names you control and in your graveyard, so usually 3 to 5, and return them to the hand. You're doing this on your opponent's turn with Shirakusai, remember, so it's just a giant bounce. You can target 1 P.U.N.K monster in your graveyard except Amazing Dragon and special summon it. So this can also summon back the Dragon Drive, because very commonly, even if your opponent cracks the Winda, they still have to play through Chuche and this. And it's extremely uncommon for your opponent to be able to do all of that and clear the dragon. And this just represents just summoning back Dragon Drive on its own, which is, again, full Virtual combo again, because you just search Lulu again. It is a crazy piece of disruption and also a mandatory threat to get rid of, otherwise you're just going to bury your opponent. Fantastic card. Wish I could play 1 more, but I can't. The extra deck's tight. 1 Stardust Charge and 1 Coral Dragon, just Virtual World pieces. These are kind of standard. Coral Dragon's okay. It's not great in tier format because everything floats, but if you need to make a guy and send it to grave to draw a card, it's fine. Psychic End Punisher is an exceptionally playable card. So while your life points are less than or equal to your opponent, this Synchro Summon card is unaffected by opponent's activate effects. So always, or almost always, because this deck pays a ton of life points. Your main combo pays 2,400. Doesn't feel good until you drop this guy, and then he just gets fat. And then once per turn, you pay 1,000 life, target one monster you control and one card your opponent controls, banish them both. That does not say both, so if their target leaves, it still attempts to resolve as much as possible, but importantly, this triggers the Punk field spell as well, because it does not say if a Punk activates effect. It just says a Psychic monster, and he's a Psychic. And then at the start of the battle phase, you can make this card gain attack equal to the difference between your life and your opponent's. And he just gets really big and he's unaffected. Fantastic card. And speaking of cards that are really big and unaffected, we make Final Sigma sometimes, because our Flunderies matchup isn't particularly good. Except for the fact that they really cannot deal with this card. So sometimes when the birds are out, you have to summon the Sigma male. For the Xyz monsters, Beatrice is very important to the combo because Beatrice makes Wind die. Really, really good. Ptolemy is kind of not really the flex spot. I think he's better to play than Fan because I'm not playing Fan. It can just bounce a monster from field or in either grave. It's also, I played over Fan because it can get back to Zayaman and pull off the Punk engine again and just make Punisher effective too. Because getting monsters back from my grave to my hand is sometimes really good. We play Wallow because of tier. It's not even great into tier, but it makes your guys really big and sometimes stops them from huge summoning. It's okay. And then we play Fortune Tune and Zeus because this deck can do that. So that is it for the deck profile. Let's get to some combos, shall we? Alright everyone, welcome to the test hand combo wabba gabba portion of the video. I realized that I said combo tutorial. There's not really a set combo. Sometimes you start with Foxy Tune, sometimes you start with Zayaman. Instead, I will show off the board you're trying to get to, which is Beatrice plus Chuche plus a Amazing Dragon on your opponent's turn with Field Spell. Sometimes, if your hand's a little crazy with Virtual Worlds, like you draw like an extra Lao Lao or something, you can sometimes put up like a Shen Shen or a Wallow in addition to this, but let me just show you the baseline combo. Importantly, the deck can occasionally brick. We haven't completely killed that, but we've gotten rid of like 90% of it. So, starting off, we have, and that's combo. It's not the prettiest way to do it, but it is combo. So we could, drawing Shirakusa is a little weird. We prefer to summon it from deck with the Foxy Tune, but still fine. Because the best deck in Ishizu Tournaments is not playing conventional hand traps, they're mostly playing like Bestials and like Kelbecks. We are going to assume for our sake that we are uninterrupted. Obviously, if you are interrupted, sometimes you have to do some optimal things, but hand traps are less common in this current format. So, with that assumption in mind, we're going to have to do things a little unconventionally. We're going to normal summon Shirakusai. We'll trigger Shirakusai effect, paying 6 to fusion summon, using himself and Ogre Dance. Making Rising Carp, and then we'll trigger Rising Carp's effect. It's not on summon, unfortunately, but we can still do it. That will summon the Wagon and Deer Notes. And then Wagon will pay 6 to add our field spell from deck to hand. So we have Extreme Session, then we will activate Session here, and then synchroing into Dragon Drive. Now it's at this point that we realize that we have to draw basically any non-trap Virtual World card. So King Long, Kaloon, or any name, plus the Punk facilitates the full combo. And then have like a discard, but the discard's fine, we have grave effects. So, your Dragon Drive, like I mentioned in the deck profile portion, can either search Lulu or send Yan Yan. Depending on what you have, sometimes you search, sometimes you send. Because we obviously drew Lulu, we're gonna send Yan Yan. And because of that, we're gonna switch the chain links. Normally you go chain link 1 Dragon Drive, chain link 2 Deer Note target Shirakusai, but we want the Yan Yan to trigger, so we're actually gonna do it backwards. So, in this instance, you don't normally do this like I said, but we will go chain link 1 Deer Note target Shirakusai, chain link 2 Dragon Drive, pay 6, and sending. Because Dragon Drive can send instead of search, which is very good. That extra versatility makes a huge difference. So sending Yan Yan and then resolving the summon of Shirakusai. Now Yan Yan triggers here, which is very nice because we need the name on board. So we will go Chainlink 1 Yan Yan, Chainlink 2 Field Spell. Because we also paid life to activate a psychic effect, we get to draw a card for free. So we summon back and we draw. Drawing a second Chu-Che isn't optimal, but we can make it work. So we already drew Lulu, that's really good. We will Lulu target Yan Yan. That will send King Long and add the Zhuan Wu. We don't prefer to draw Zhuan Wu, or at least have to search it, because drawing double Chu-Che is not optimal, but it still works. If anything, we have a free discard for King Long, so it's fine. So we will trigger King Long here. That will search for Gigi, because Gigi is a level 3 non-tuner, which is very hard to come by in this deck actually. Unless it is a normal summon Yan Yan or Gigi, or like a level modulated Lily. I apologize. So keeping track of your levels is a very important thing to do in this deck, and normally we'd want to discard Zhuan Wu, but we need this engrave to modulate, so we will discard the Chu-Che. Then we will GG target Lulu, or Yan Yan, whatever you want to do. Set up another copy of King Long for next turn, and then just because we want to put it back in deck, I don't like having both Chu-Che's on field. Like, I like having one Chu-Che in deck at all times, because if it gets Cosmic, I want to be able to recover with that. So right here, we will actually Chu-Che target, importantly, Lulu. You do have to target Lulu with this to make her level 6. The reason being is we're going to synchro into Stardust Charge, using the Yan Yan, because like I said, we want Chu-Che back in deck, so we're going to put it there. But because we don't want to draw the Chu-Che, we will go Chainlink 1 Yan Yan, target Chu-Che, shuffle back, Chainlink 2 Charge to draw. Because Chain resolves backwards, we will draw a card and shuffle back the Chu-Che. It doesn't matter what we drew here, because we drew the Punk name plus Virtual World card. So they might as well be blank cards. But in this deck, because we're playing so much engine, we're going to draw more extenders typically, so it's important to keep that in mind. Sometimes the draws just get you in a combo. And then because this is level 6, we will make our copy of Beatrice. Beatrice notably detaching Lulu, that's important, to dump our copy of Shaw Beast. And then trigger Beast effect. Because we drew Zhuan Wu, as long as we don't draw exactly Hadness, our combo is still online. What do we draw? Not Hadness, that's fine. Kaylin is actually pretty nice here because we can leverage King Long as a negation on the crackback, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so we just set the Chu-Che. This is set, but I'm gonna keep it face up just so we see it. And then going to end phase, we'll resolve this Gigi to add back Lulu. And that is a board, my friends. That is actually the board. So this is a little more than it looks. So during our opponent's draw phase, we're going to trigger Beatrice, detaching Charge. That's going to send a copy of Havness. Havness effect is going to place both herself and the Beast on bottom of deck. We'll place the Havness on the bottom, just so that if for some reason, like, it's close to the bottom of the deck, if it ever gets down to it, we're closer to drawing the Beast. It's just a minor thing. So we make the Winda in draw phase, and then if you're not playing against exactly Flunder, they have to deal with this. And in order to do so, typically they're going to drop down, they could drop down like a Bestial or whatever, and then try and go to the battle phase. If they have a Bestial, they would have Bestial that happens, but whatever. So this is here, and then in order to protect it, we have the Chu-Che to pop any face-up card. And we also have the Sharakusai. It's a little bit low rolly actually. We're only getting 2 bounces with our Amazing Dragon, but we're paying 6. And summoning the dragon, and because we have Sharakusai and Wagon, they're both level 3 psychics, we get to go Chainlink 1, targeting up to 2 to bounce. It doesn't say exactly, which is nice. And then Chainlink 2 Extreme Session, we get to just draw a card for free as well. And notably, this is still on our opponent's turn, and we're gonna get to start off our turn with 7 cards in hand. So that is like the baseline combo. As we saw, my hand wasn't optimal. Like, drawing Sharakusai is a little bit weird, but like, that's the board you want to get to. So I'm gonna run one more hand because these combos go long and I don't want to keep y'all sitting here forever. I might make a whole video of just testing hands, maybe like 30 minutes of it, and explaining what I would do in different lines, because there's a lot of deviation in this deck from the standard combo. Like, ways, because you're trying to get to the same end board, but the ways you get there is different every time. That's what makes the deck so hard. So, final test stand, what do we got? Drew Lily, Drew a Swarm, Lao Lao, Lulu, Foxy Tune. That is still a combo. So because we know what the cards do and I've explained the lines, we're just gonna run right through it. So we're gonna Foxy Tune, discarding Lao Lao importantly. That's gonna summon our copy of Amon. Amon pay 6 to search for Sharakusai. Because we didn't have to normal summon Amon, we can normal summon the Sharakusai, trigger Sharakusai effect. Summoning Carp, trigger Carp. Summoning Wagon and Deer Note. They're somewhere in here. There's Wagon, there's Deer Note. Wagon pay 6 to search Field Spell. Activate Field Spell, always remember to do this because Dragon Drive does pay 6, and an extra draw is sometimes the difference between winning and losing. So because we drew Lulu again, we're gonna do the backwards chain that I mentioned earlier. We're gonna go Chain Link 1, Deer Note, Sharakusai, Chain Link 2, Dragon Drive. Sending in, and where is she? There she is. And summoning Sharakusai. Resolution, Chain Link 1, Neon Summon, Chain Link 2, Session Draw. Drawing Magnum, but that is really, really good. 2 Pistols is always nice to see. So we drew an extra name. We could actually combo a little harder with this, so I think I'm actually gonna try to do that. We will Lulu target Yan Yan here. Sending King Long, adding Chuche. I apologize for that. And now we can King Long. We're gonna discard this Druid Swarm because I actually intend to Magnumlet on my turn because I'm also gonna try and end on. I could do Shen Shen or Wallow. I think I'm gonna do Wallow just to play around a like an Imperm or spot negation on my window so I can still disrupt my tier opponent because I'm probably playing against tier. We already have Lily. We don't have Gigi. Let's search Gigi because Lala's the last one we want to search because we have so many tuners. So Gigi target Lulu. That's going to send, importantly, the other copy of Chuche. And then Chuche will once again increase the level of the Lulu. Synchro for Stardust Charge. Charge is going to draw 1, but we have to chain block this correctly. So Chain Link 1 Yan Yan, target Chuche, Chain Link 2 Stardust, draw 1. Ogre Dance is just fantastic. It means we have P.U.N.K engine on follow-up. Like, just on the crackback, I mean, it's just so good to have that. And then from here, there's a couple ways to go. I am going to Lily target Lulu. And then I will send King Long and Zhuan Wu just for even more follow-up. And I can also Xyz for Beatrice here. Well, I will Xyz for Beatrice. Correction. So Beatrice detaching Lulu. That will send the Beast again. We've seen this part of the combo. Beast effect to draw 1. Oh, F1. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, sometimes you just draw Utility, and it feels really good. So yeah, depending on the matchup, we could just make Shen Shen. I think I actually want to make Shen Shen over Wallow. No, Wallow's just, it's more friendly to my card economy to do Wallow. So we will Magnumlet targeting the, I know there's a Foxy here. Yep, Magnumlet target Foxy Tune. Summon, trigger Magnumlet, don't forget to resolve it. And then we'll make Wallow as well. Setting this Chuche, and then going to end phase, we will resolve both Gigi getting back Lulu and Magnumlet getting back Druid Swarm. So we just went like +5, and we're gonna have a window setup plus like multiple bounces. Our Amazing Dragon's gonna be bigger here as well. So, on our opponent's turn, like I said, draw phase, we're going Beatrice, sending Havness, it's in here somewhere. Yep, Havness put back itself in Beast. To make the window. Important to keep your zones clear. Sometimes if you get sloppy with your combo and think you can get somewhere but then end up not getting there, you don't want to clog your main monster zones. Make the window. Chuche pops something we don't like, and then Amazing Dragon's actually going to have, I want to say, 3 bounces here, could be 4. Yeah, Wagon, Amon, plus Sharakusai. Yeah, so we're gonna pay 6. Gonna go for Dragon, Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, draw an additional card. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a little alright. Importantly, as long as the windows face up, your steals are turned off, but if windows face up, you're probably winning anyway. So, yeah. And then we draw for turn, what do we get? That's like, it's just extra at this point because we have 6 cards in hand with a loaded Zhuanwu and King Long Engrave. So, that is the proof of concept. That is P.U.N.K Virtual World post-Half ban in a Tier 0 format, showing that it's still got teeth against all the odds. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've been P.U.N.K, I'm still feeling great, and I hope y'all have an amazing weekend, and Merry Christmas, because I know we're in the Christmas season. Thanks all so much again. I'll see you later. Peace.